Have you ever had to train the new guy only to find something is off about him? I've worked the overnight shift at a factory for almost 8 years. It's not glamorous work. Most people would probably lose their minds doing it. The same machines, the same fluorescent lights, the same humming conveyor belts stretching into the darkness of the warehouse. But I liked it. The night crew was small. We all knew each other. We'd worked together long enough that everyone had their routines. That's why I noticed the new guy immediately. It was a Monday night when he showed up. My supervisor pulled me aside before shift start. "Need you to train the new hire this week." I looked over and saw a tall guy standing by the lockers. He looked to be in his late 30s. Dark hair, thin build, pale skin. The first thing I noticed was how tired he looked. Not sleepy, exhausted, like he hadn't slept in months. When I walked over and introduced myself, he barely smiled. His handshake was cold, not metaphorically, actually cold. I remember because it caught me off guard. The factory wasn't exactly warm, but his hand felt like he'd been standing outside in the snow. "First night?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah." His voice was soft, almost too soft. I spent the next 10 hours showing him everything: safety procedures, machine operation, quality checks, inventory logging, the basics. He learned surprisingly fast. By the end of the shift, he barely needed my help. Most new hires struggle for weeks, not him. He seemed to absorb everything instantly. Throughout the week, we worked side by side. At first, I thought he was just shy, but the longer I knew him, the stranger he became. He never talked about himself, not once. Every conversation somehow shifted away from him. I'd ask where he was from. He'd answer with another question. I'd ask if he had family nearby. He'd change the subject. One night around 3 in the morning, we were taking our lunch break in the break room, just the two of us. The vending machines buzzed in the corner. Rain tapped against the building outside. I remember asking him why he took the overnight shift. He stared at his coffee for several seconds. Then he said something I'll never forget. "Night is easier." "Easier than what?" He looked up. "Being seen." I laughed awkwardly. He didn't. The silence afterward felt uncomfortable. Eventually, I changed the subject. Looking back now, I wish I hadn't. Friday arrived, his final training shift. Everything seemed normal. At the end of the night, he thanked me. Actually, thanked me. It was the longest sentence I'd heard him speak all week. Then he grabbed his backpack and left. I figured I'd see him again Monday. I didn't. When I arrived Monday night, his locker was empty. I assumed he was late. Around midnight, I asked one of the guys if he'd seen him. He frowned. "Seen who?" "The new hire." "What new hire?" I laughed. "The guy I've been training all week." He stared at me. "I think you're confused." The comment irritated me. "What are you talking about?" "We haven't hired anyone." I expected him to start laughing. Instead, he looked genuinely concerned. I brushed it off. Maybe he was messing with me. Night crews get bored. People play jokes. But as the shift continued, the jokes stopped being funny. I asked another coworker, same response. Then another, then another. Nobody knew who I was talking about. Nobody remembered seeing him. Nobody remembered a new employee. By the end of the night, I was frustrated. The following evening, I went straight to my supervisor. "Where's the guy I trained last week?" He blinked. "What guy?" "The new hire." His expression slowly changed. The way people look at someone who's making them uncomfortable. "There wasn't a new hire." I laughed. "You're the one who assigned him to me." "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did." "No." The certainty in his voice made my stomach tighten. I spent nearly 10 minutes arguing with him. Eventually, he opened personnel records on his computer. Every employee, every new hire, every recent application, nothing. No trace, no record, no name, nothing. I left his office feeling sick. For the next several days, I became obsessed. I searched everywhere. Break room cameras, locker room sign and sheets, production logs, anything. Every piece of evidence suggested the same thing. The man didn't exist. The security footage made things worse, much worse. I managed to convince one of the managers to let me review recordings. I pulled footage from Tuesday night. There I was, working at the machine, training someone, except the second person wasn't there. I stood alone, talking, gesturing, demonstrating equipment, to nobody. My blood turned to ice. I replayed it over and over, same result. The camera showed me standing alone for hours, as if I'd imagined the entire week. That should have been impossible, but there it was. Video evidence, undeniable. I started losing sleep, even during the day. I'd wake up drenched in sweat. I'd hear his voice sometimes, not clearly, just fragments, little whispers. Night is easier, being seen. Those words kept replaying in my head. Friends started asking if I was okay. I stopped going out, stopped answering texts. I became convinced something was wrong with me. Maybe stress, maybe a breakdown, maybe some kind of psychological episode. I even scheduled an appointment with a doctor. I didn't tell them the whole story. How could I? Who would believe me? I barely believed myself. A week passed, then another. The memory refused to fade. One night after work, I got home around 6 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. Again. I sat in my recliner with the television on. The local news was running, mostly background noise, traffic reports, weather updates, politics. Then a breaking news segment interrupted. The anchor's tone changed immediately. Serious. Urgent. A photograph appeared on screen. The second I saw it, every hair on my body stood up. I knew that face. The pale skin, the dark hair, the tired eyes. It was him, the new hire. The man I'd spent an entire week training. The television identified him as a wanted serial killer. Authorities believed he was connected to multiple murders across several states. The crimes stretched back years. Victims found in remote areas, factories, warehouses, truck stops, places where people worked nights. The anchor said investigators believed he frequently assumed false identities, taking temporary jobs, disappearing before anyone realized who he was. I couldn't breathe. I turned up the volume. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the remote. Then the report became even worse. The anchor revealed something investigators had recently uncovered. The suspect had been officially declared dead 2 years earlier, killed during a standoff with police. Fingerprints confirmed it. DNA confirmed it. The body had been identified. Case closed, except witnesses across multiple states continued reporting sightings afterward. Recent sightings. People swore they'd met him, worked with him, spoken with him. Then the sightings would vanish. No records, no evidence, nothing. Exactly what happened to me. I sat frozen, unable to move, unable to think. The report ended with a hotline number. Authorities requested information from anyone who may have encountered the suspect. I called immediately. The detective who answered listened patiently. At first. Then I explained what happened. The week at the factory, training him. Nobody remembering him afterward. The missing footage. The silence on the other end lasted several seconds. Finally, he asked something strange. "Did he ever touch you?" The question caught me off guard. "Yeah, handshake." Anything else? No. Another pause. Then he sighed. You aren't the first person who's reported this. My heart pounded. What does that mean? The detective lowered his voice. Off the record? Sure. We've had reports from dozens of people. I felt nauseous. Dozens? Different states, different jobs, different years. The detective hesitated. Every witness says the same thing. I gripped the phone tighter. What? They spent about a week with him. The room suddenly felt colder. Then nobody remembered him. Exactly. I swallowed hard. What happened to those people? The detective didn't answer immediately. When he finally spoke, his voice sounded uneasy. Most of them became obsessed. I felt my stomach sink. Obsessed how? They couldn't move on. I looked toward the dark hallway of my house. A strange feeling crept over me, feeling that I wasn't alone. The detective continued. Many reported seeing him again. My pulse quickened. Where? Reflections. I stared at the television screen. Black now, reflective, like a mirror. Windows, the detective continued. Security cameras. A chill ran down my spine. Sometimes standing behind them. I slowly turned around. The living room was empty, or at least I thought it was. Then I noticed something. The sliding glass door leading to my backyard. The reflection. For just a second, I saw two people sitting in the room, myself, and someone sitting directly behind me. I spun around. Nothing. The chair behind me was empty. My heart hammered. When I looked back at the glass, the second reflection was gone. The detective was still talking, but I barely heard him, because for the first time since that week, I understood something. The man I'd trained wasn't pretending to be someone else. He wasn't using a fake identity. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't disappearing. He simply wasn't supposed to be there. And somehow, for 1 week, I had noticed him, just long enough for him to notice me too. The detective eventually hung up. I don't remember the rest of the conversation. I sat there until sunrise, watching the reflections, waiting, hoping I wouldn't see him again. That was 3 years ago. I still work nights. Different factory now, different city, different people. Most nights are normal, almost normal. But every once in a while, usually around 3 in the morning, I catch someone standing at the far end of the warehouse, watching me, tall, thin, pale. When I blink, he's gone. I've never told anyone, because I already know what they'll say. Nobody else sees him. Nobody else remembers him. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that some people don't need to exist to leave a mark on your life. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear his voice. Soft, calm, almost amused. The same words he spoke during that lunch break years ago. The words that made no sense then, but terrify me now. Night is easier, and every time I hear them, I can't help wondering whether he's talking about himself or about whatever follows him. If you enjoyed tonight's story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. And if you have a creepy story of your own that you'd like featured on Talesthyme, send it to talesthyme@gmail.com. Your story could be next.